Grand Rising family. So let's talk about our inner being. Your inner being, the soul. Because remember, you don't have a soul, you are a soul. Your soul that is having a conscious and physical experience. So the inner being, your higher self, is always in a state of well being, always happy, always content. It knows that the universe is always working out for you, and your inner being knows why you came here and the things that you need in order to accomplish the goal of coming here. So, what happens is you can look at your inner being as being on a certain frequency, like a radio station, and your physical self, your consciousness, that ego, is on a completely different station. So the goal is to align to the same radio station, put both the inner and conscious being on the same radio station. But when they are not aligned, what ends up happening is when you have that inner being that is so content, so happy, so peaceful, and then you have the conscious self or your outer being, so unhappy, discontented, you know, it the fact that they are not aligned is so intense that it causes the negative emotions like depression, anger, sadness. And when you're feeling, that depression, it is your higher self calling out to you, calling you to change your station to its frequency so that you can feel the same sense of well being and knowing. See, that inner being has a knowing about it. And you have to align to that so that you have that same knowing. And it keeps things like depression and anger and a bunch of pain and the things that we do because of those emotions, it keeps that away from you. So when there is a contrast between your inner being and your outer being, that is where the negative emotions come in. And they come in because it's just uncomfortable, that really is just what it is. It is uncomfortable. So that is the way that uncomfortableness kind of shows up within us, so when you're feeling like at your lowest and like nothing's ever going to work out, things always go wrong and stuff like that, that is your higher self calling you, come on up here, like knock knock on the door, come to me, because everything's good up here, you know like the universe is always working out for us from this vantage point. People aren't necessarily purposely hurting you, they're coming in to teach you lessons, you know and you know Rumi says that a wound is the place where the light enters, and that light is called healing. And sometimes the people that come into our lives, they need to put a flashlight on the wound. Sometimes they need to poke you and reopen that wound so that you will address it. So when you begin to look at things a little differently, looking at life a little differently, looking at emotions, a little differently, and you're conscious of what it is that you're feeling, you're able to kind of, I guess, maybe talk yourself off the ledge, or, which will help change the vibration that you're in right now. Sometimes everything falls apart so that something better can be rebuilt. Sometimes you can't rebuild a new house on the same foundation because the foundation is cracked or it's faulty. So sometimes we got to get all the way down to the foundation of things, and we have to rebuild, and so sometimes the universe will come through, just knocking stuff, out of the way, because we put up so much resistance. It's the ego, that puts up so much resistance to that alignment with your inner being. The ego is a beast, you know, and you got to crush it. You got to crush it, and if you are resistant to the change, you will be forced to change. That it because the universe is always working for you and for your good. So if how you're living and thinking is not aligned with the inner being and what is known to be for your good, your inner being got your back. The universe got your back. So yeah, the universe is going to come in and create a little bit more discord in your life in order to bring you in accord with your inner being. That's just how that goes. So you resist, you're going to have a harsh ego death. And that ego is what drives us. So like we all pretty much have to be forced into an ego death. We don't just say sign me up for that, and let me look at things a little differently, let me get more in touch with my inner being. Something typically has to force us, and what forces change? Uncomfortableness. So the more uncomfortable you are in your life right now, it is how loudly your inner being is calling you. Come to me. Come to self. Come to peace. Come to happiness. Happiness is a state of being. You don't need things, people, or situations for happiness. It literally lies within you and within you only. And when you are not tuned to that radio station, oh, yes, some things are going to happen to help you turn the dial and get attuned and get in line with your inner being. So remember, your negative emotions are indicating that you are not aligned with your inner being. You are not aligned. Your consciousness is not aligned with the soul that you are. And you are being forced to align. And I promise you, if you do align, oh, what a beautiful day. Oh, what a happy day it'll be. And it's a happy day every day without needing the evidence of things and people to make you happy. It really is a state of being. Happiness does not occur because something happened. It's a state of being. It's not an action that you take. It's a way that you just are. Just something to think about today, family. Peace.